It's March 31st, the International Day of Trans Visibility, a day first conceptualized by Rachel Crandall-Crocker in 2009. She wanted a reason to come together and feel joy with other members of the trans community. She thought there should be another holiday, other than the Transgender Day of Remembrance in November, which was created to commemorate those who were lost due to anti-transgender violence. I wanted a day that we could focus on the living, she says. She didn't expect it to become the international event it's become, an annual event dedicated to celebrating transgender people and raising awareness of discrimination faced by transgender people worldwide. It's also a day to celebrate their contributions to society. On this Trans Day of Visibility, I want to talk about trans Palestinians. I'm going to honor the living at the end of the video, but I want to start with some trans Palestinians who have faced violence and discrimination because of their status as trans Palestinians. This article from 972 magazine talks about a trans woman called MC. Its title, A Palestinian Trans Woman's Story Peels Away Israel's Pinkwashing Veil. For many LGBTQ Palestinians, Pride Month in Israel functions as a facade that obscures the deep injustices on the ground. MC, a Palestinian trans woman, has personally experienced this. MC hails from a small Palestinian community where being trans led to her alienation and ostracization, as is the case for many LGBTQ people living in other small, traditional, or conservative communities around the world. This is an important point to note because the strategy of pinkwashing tries to take the idea that Palestinians discriminate against queer and trans people and use it as justification for G-siding them. But many believe that there's an ongoing transgender G-side that encapsulates transgender people in the United States. Transgender healthcare bans in the U.S. have been condemned by medical organizations. A report published by Yale School of Medicine in response to bans on gender-affirming care in Alabama and Texas argued that the bans were no more ethical than a prohibition on healthcare for any other life-threatening medical condition. The president of World Professional Association of Transgender Healthcare stated that these laws constituted an effort to rid the world of transgender people. Further, Spivey and Robinson argued that by waging a culture war using hate propaganda and misusing scientific research to gain public legitimacy, the movement seeks to deploy state powers and the medical profession to perpetuate genocidal acts on its behalf. To summarize, there are few places in the world, if any, where it is truly safe to be trans. That doesn't justify having the people of those places be G-sided. Back to MC. She said she felt jealous of women growing up. She couldn't remember ever feeling that she had been born into the right body or gender, and that her family sensed this even at a young age. She laughs as she recounts, My parents would leave the house and I would quickly put on girls' clothes and makeup and dance while they were out, and then change back into boys' clothes just before they returned. She talks about family members threatening her with violence, how she had no desire to be manly. The lives of men seemed very narrow, she explained. Men are not truly free. So much is expected of men. They can't have emotions, but must be strong and powerful. Growing up, she heard about Israel being praised as a paradise for gay and trans people and longed to find solace in such a place. Initially, she didn't plan to move to Israel, but after one night when she says she was less careful than usual and posted videos of herself dancing and acting openly effeminate, life changed. Her brother threatened her with a knife. She tried moving to a more urban Palestinian area, but other relatives found her and threatened her with guns, so she finally tried to escape to Israel. She managed to make her way into Tel Aviv even without a permit, spent her first night on the beach, terrified that the police would catch her and send her back. She was referred to a hostel for LGBTQ runaways, but she quickly found that it was not the safe shelter she was seeking, but another place of control and punishment, with excessively strict regiments and Israeli staffers who were domineering. The hostel was just the first taste of many layers of structural violence MC would slowly realize was her new reality. She talks about insidious lawyers who are supposed to help LGBTQ clients, but they act as gatekeepers in full control of matters of life and death for LGBTQ people. If they don't like you, the lawyers can destroy that person's chance of achieving safety and freedom. They're the point of contact between LGBTQ Palestinians and the Israeli permit system or UN asylum agencies. MC did receive a permit to stay, and while it can be renewed, she never knows for how long. It could be 1 month or it could be 6, and it may not be renewed at all. On one occasion, she said her permit was denied simply because she seemed too confident, stating the permit is their weapon. The permits are also used in other controlling ways. Due to the dominating and invasive presence of Israeli intelligence, many Palestinians assume that LGBTQ people who receive permits have, out of desperation or threats, agreed to collaborate with Israeli security forces. As a result, gay and trans Palestinians are subjected to further suspicion and stigmatization. Israel using sexuality and gender to further divide and conquer. Gay Palestinians have been blackmailed by Israeli authorities to gain access to intimate details of Palestinian lives to use as leverage. And it seems the United Nations is not much better, miring transgender lives in bureaucracy rather than actually helping them. MC has called for over a year and always told that there are no appointments for such cases in the near future. She's seeking asylum in another country, but even if she can set up an appointment, the process of attaining asylum status is likely to take several years. The long waiting period is not merely a legal limbo. For many, it is a state of constant escalating danger, and can even be a death sentence. MC is now able to work in Israel, but she doesn't have stable employment due to lack of an Israeli ID and her distinct appearance as a trans woman. These bureaucratic blocks can lead to death. Zahava was a trans woman who fled the West Bank to escape abuse and prostitution, but in Israel she was left without basic rights. Even welfare institutions offered no solution. Police says she unalived herself at 22 years old. Life as a transgender woman in Israel is full of difficulties in any case, and there is a shortage of frameworks where members of the community can find support. But for those who lack residency status, life is nearly impossible. Zahava lived on the street as a child and as a teenager was sexually abused and exploited. When she finally fled to Israel as a 19-year-old, she asked to be recognized as a victim of human trafficking, but was arrested several times for illegal residency and indicted. She was deported back to the Palestinian Authority. Everyone says they can't help me, so who can help me? Her plea went unheeded, and the court sentenced her to 3 months in prison. Despite everything she faced, Zahava was a rare flower, a very special young woman, open-eyed and dreamy, sensitive, curious, undecided, wondering about life and its meaning, wanting to study psychology, philosophy, religions, and spirituality, find meaning and do good in the world. She was proud and noble-minded, smart enough to experience in full force the understanding of the world that the world simply does not want her and does not assign her any place under the sun. Rest in power, Zahava. For something a little happier, this is Yafa, an acclaimed disabled, autistic, trans, queer, Muslim, and indigenous Palestinian individual who has received multiple awards for their transformative work around displacement, decolonization, equity, and centering the lives of experience of individuals most impacted by injustice. What a queen. I recommend buying their poetry book, Blood Orange. The title is a reference to the oranges of Jaffa, one of many exploited resources by the British Mandate for Palestine, and later the Israeli occupation. The title protests the portrayal of Palestinians as an arid, unpopulated land for anyone's taking, a false claim shattered by Palestinians' endless olive groves, orange groves, and other forms of flora that has been tended to by lineages of farmers. In a poem carrying the collection's title, Yaffa writes, "Our blood filling trees and canyons, turning the sea a blood orange like an eclipse that forgot to subside." Yaffa wrote her first book at 13 and talks about writing as a means of escape. They also talk about their connection to their Muslim practice. Regardless of my family moving into new places and facing marginalization as Palestinians living in poverty, we always had space for everyone at our table. They taught me that Islam is all about how you treat other people. Yaf has also said that the Israeli genocide on Gaza has killed every LGBTQIA+ person they knew in Gaza before October 7th, and every LGBTQIA+ person they connected with after October 7th, too. I recommend this article on prismreports.org. They talk about how it's important for Western queers especially to support Palestinians because our money is funding their genocide. I'm going to tag their TikTok below. And finally, Mama Ganoush, a disowned, liberated, dignified, and entertaining drag queen and activist. Drag is art, drag is joy, drag is love. You can find Mama Ganoush on Instagram. And finally, I'm going to link this fundraiser. It's almost to its goal. They're trying to start the first entirely peer-run queer and trans Muslim helpline. The helpline will offer peer support, a method where individuals with shared experiences assist others as they confront various challenges. Donate $2, $5, $10. The link's in my bio. Happy Trans Day of Visibility. Free Palestine.